When you look at this what you used to look like and what you've gone through, like what do you how do you feel when you look at this young man now?
Well, I kind of feel sad. It's kind of pushed on you. So I thought, maybe that's the reason all of these people are telling me maybe I was born in the wrong body. Maybe I'm meant to be a trans
So you
woman.
did have people influencing you and saying like maybe you're not happy because you want to be a woman.
Absolutely. I mean, my friends around me, people I know, people online, were all saying, maybe you're trans or you look like a woman. A lot of people kept saying you look like a woman, you're very feminine. So I thought, maybe these people are right. Maybe facial feminization surgery, I was wearing the women's clothes. And I was still like, why am I not happy? I couldn't understand why I wasn't happy. And then it took me going to church, Christy. I went to church one day and it took me that experience to actually suddenly realize everything I'm doing is a waste. It's pointless. It's not giving me internal happiness. If I can find a connection with God, if I can find happiness from within, then I'm going to have a better life. People seem to say online like, oh, now that I'm Christian, oh, you're a bigot, you're homophobic. That's actually the opposite, because Christians are the most open-minded, embracing people there are. Since I actually detransitioned, I've had so many Christians send me the kindest messages you can imagine. They say they're keeping me in their prayers, and it's incredible. So Christians are the most welcoming, kindest community, so I want to thank them for that, whatever. But now it's become a trend between these liberal elites, these media companies that are targeting children. They want to slowly kind of just dehumanize children and just kind of make this normal. There's many sick people in Hollywood that do bad things to kids, as we saw with Jeffrey Epstein. Look how many A-list celebrities were on his island. She's covered in blood. It's very satanic. I just think it's very sick because if people remember correctly, the partner of Kylie Jenner, who she has her kids with, Travis Scott, held a concert where 10 people, including children, died from suffocation and asphyxiation. She said nothing. She did nothing for the victims. They didn't compensate. They didn't do anything for the victims. They actually didn't care. So it's the fact that she's now covering herself in blood, which is, a few years on from this tragedy. She hasn't even acknowledged the kids that died at her partner's concert. He didn't care.
Someone that's willing to bravely share their story about how basically self-discovery and then transitioning and detransitioning, and he's owing the enlightenment, if you will, to his faith in Christ. And we were just talking off air a minute ago, and I was like, wow, for those of you that don't know, I'm a former longtime mainstream news anchor, and I have detransitioned out of that corporate controlled propaganda machine to doing this independently, which has definitely come up with its challenges and haters and things like that. So, in some small, teensy weensy way, I can relate to having to change and do what you feel is right for you at the moment, and obviously with being led by Christ. So I don't want to waste any time in bringing Ali London in. He's most famously known for basically all of these surgeries to transition from a British man to a K-pop star, essentially. So welcome in to Ali London. Thank you so much for coming on with me today.
Thanks for having me. It's a real pleasure to be here.
Awesome. Well, I wanted to start with basically your start. So you grew up, where exactly did you grow up?
So I grew up in the British countryside, just outside London, and then when I was a teenager or an adult, I started traveling the world. Spent a lot of time in America, in Africa, doing charity projects, and then I settled in South Korea for 1 year, and that's really where my kind of story of transition began.
And what kind of a family life did you grow up in?
So I had a very good upbringing. I went to a very nice school when I was in elementary school. I had great teachers. I was a very hardworking student. My family were very, very good, very kind. But when I went to secondary school, I was studying hard and stuff, but that was when I started to get bullied for the way I looked. So that's when my kind of insecurities started in high school.
What was the criticism?
Basically, it was about the way I look. So a lot of people used to tease me for my nose. So I've actually had 6 nose surgeries since then. My last one was actually in El Paso, Texas, last year. But so I've basically, my nose was really, really big, and I used to have very bad skin and acne. So I used to get teased about that all the time. So I thought, you know what? I wish I could change this one day. And then, one day I moved to South Korea and realized plastic surgery was a thing, and slowly started from there.
What brought you to South Korea?
So I just love traveling. I love Asian culture and Asian history, and I'd always wanted to go live and work in somewhere in Asia. So I went to Korea to become an English teacher, and I was there for a year teaching elementary school kids how to speak English. And it was a fantastic experience. But that was what really changed me. You know, I fell in love with the culture. I fell in love with the music, the way people looked, and I was like, you know, I wish I could be like this.
Okay, and so you began a long journey of surgeries. Now, I think that I read somewhere that you've spent like $500,000 on surgeries. Is that a correct
It's
estimate?
not it's not quite that much. It was about 300,000, but that was over 9 years. So that's basically 32 plastic surgeries, including 6 nose jobs. I've had my teeth. I have veneers. I've had liposuction on my body. I've had male chest fat reduction. I've had so many things. Filler, Botox. Like I never stopped. But you know, I've had all that, and I got to a point, you know, earlier this year, and I was still unhappy. And I was like, why am I not happy? I've done all this, I've changed all this. Why am I more unhappy now than I was before? So, you know, I actually became trans. I thought, you know, maybe the reason I'm unhappy is my gender identity. So, you know, I was generally living as a trans person. I had longer hair, I had facial feminization surgery, I was wearing the women's clothes, and I was still like, you know, why am I not happy? I couldn't understand why I wasn't happy. And then it took me going to church, Christy. I went to church one day, and it took me that experience to actually suddenly realize everything I'm doing is a waste. You know, it's pointless. It's not giving me internal happiness. If I can find a connection with God, if I can find happiness from within, then you know I'm going to have a better life. So yeah, I started going to church, and that's what really helped me get over my surgery addiction, but also helped me become, you know, my natural self, which is a British man.
Now, what happened between like wanting to change your physical look and wanting to change your gender? Like, what happened in there that you thought that you might want to be not only change your face, but change your whole body?
Right. So again, I was doing so much surgery. I was starting to do, you know, undergo the knife a couple of times a year. The last surgeries I had 11 surgeries in one day. So I was really pushing myself to the limit. And because I wasn't happy, I was thinking maybe I am feeling trapped in the wrong body. Maybe that's the reason I'm unhappy. You know, I'm trying to look like a Korean pop star. It's not working. Maybe I feel that I should be a trans woman. So I really, you know, thought that was the root cause of my issues. And, you know, when you see news articles and social media, when this has become so normal, it's almost trendy. It's trendy to transition these days. You know, teens, they get taught in school, transition, it's cool. So, you know, it's kind of pushed on you. So I thought, you know, maybe that's the reason all of these people are telling me maybe I was born in the wrong body. Maybe I'm meant to be a trans
So you
woman.
did have people influencing you and saying like maybe you're not happy because you want to be a woman.
Absolutely. I mean, my friends around me, you know, people I know, people online, were all saying, you know, maybe you're trans or you look like a woman. You know, a lot of people kept saying you look like a woman, you're very feminine. So I thought, maybe these people are right. Maybe, you know, I'm confused. Maybe I should change my gender. And, you know, I know you can't change biology, but I thought at least I can look like a woman. At least I can, you know, look more feminine and find happiness. But really, it actually made me more unhappy. You know, having the hair extensions, having the surgery, it just didn't make me happy. And I was like, you know, why can't I find happiness? So again, finding God made me realize, you know, I just want to be natural. I just want to be who I was born to be.
And I definitely want to hear more about that. But I want to ask, dig in a little bit more on this original transition. Was there anyone in your life that was like, you know, some of these surgeries can be dangerous. Some of this could even be potentially irreversible. Was there anybody that discouraged you or encouraged you from seeing if there was more of a root cause?
Yeah, to be honest, everyone, including my family and friends, they actually discouraged me. You know, every time I'd have a surgery, I would actually do it in secret. You know, I wouldn't tell my family, I wouldn't tell my friends. I would just go and do the surgery and then share it online or share it on one of my TV shows, you know, because I'm all about sharing. I like to people to follow my story and stuff. So yeah, I kind of didn't tell my friends and family. And every time it was a huge argument, I would fall out with them. I would stop talking to them and they would get very upset, you know, which is very understandable. Now I realize, you know, as a family member or a friend, it must have been very hard for them to see what I was going through and to see me going under these surgeries, knowing that I could die from having a surgery. You know, the next surgery could be the last. You know, seeing someone go through that, and you know, I didn't listen to them. I wasn't even, you know, taking notice what they're saying. It was very hard for them. So yeah, pretty much a lot of people were trying to stop me. Obviously, the doctors are kind of happy to do the surgeries. I did find some great doctors the last couple of years, though. But I've had, when I started my surgery journey, I had some very bad doctors. They really, just wanted a buck. They just destroyed my face completely. And, my face is still not right. I can barely move my face. So, I don't have much feeling in my chin or my cheeks. I've literally, cut every part of my face. So, yeah, my family and friends tried to stop me, but I think I was very kind of strong-willed and didn't listen.
Do you think that this the problem that we're seeing now with social media is those that are closest to you and really care about you can discourage you from or at least encourage you from thinking about things more. But now that we have social media and you have so many people quick to affirm whatever you're feeling in that day, do you think that that's where this, as you said, trend is coming from?
Absolutely. I mean, there's no doubt about, most teenagers and young people are addicted to TikTok. They're addicted to Instagram. They spend pretty much all day. And, a lot of these people are searching for validation. They're searching for compliments. They want to show a perfect life and they might be unhappy inside. So they're posting pictures that have filters and, unrealistic looks. If you look at the Kardashians are a prime example. So yeah, kids are turning to Instagram and they're seeing these kind of people and they're thinking, maybe I can be like them. Maybe I can be trans because it's trending on TikTok this week. All the TikTokers are suddenly switching up their genders. Maybe I can do that. It looks really easy. So kids are believing that this is easy. And, I've actually found doctors before on Instagram and I've actually booked surgeries through Instagram and then they've gone wrong. So it's like, Instagram and social media can be dangerous because, like you said, it's a quick fix. We see something online, we want it straight away. We don't wait. Kids don't wait 10 years to change their gender. Now it's like they want to change there and then. Whereas if you go back, a long time ago, 30, 40 years ago, if someone generally did feel transgender, they would take many, many years of doctor's appointments, of therapy, of psychologist appointments until they actually transition. So there's no checks and balances anymore. Everyone wants an instant and quick change because it's trending and it's cool. And they don't realize that social media and going with the trend can have devastating long-term effects.
And I mean, this is a personal question, but how far did you take it, as far as becoming transitioning to female? Did you get the breast enhancement and make other changes, or were you able to change your mind soon enough? I
Well,
guess.
luckily, I was able to change my mind, thank goodness, before I did any body surgeries. But I did the facial surgery, so I actually had facial feminization. So I changed the entire bone structure of my face. I had my forehead bones shaved, my eyebrow bones shaved. I actually had my hairline lowered. So in my hair, there's a massive scar. So I did a lot of changes on my face to look more feminine. I also had my lower fat in the cheeks completely removed. I had my chin shaved, just to change everything. So obviously, I did my face. I was going to go do the body. I was still thinking about it, still thinking, that's a very drastic change. But, I kind of destroyed my face. I'm much happier than I was. I've had the last few doctors have been good, but, my face barely has any movement. I can only do a few facial expressions. So it's not good. But, when kids are seeing these things online and they want this quick, instant fix, they're not thinking about the consequences. So when you have a young person that goes to a doctor, they want the breast surgery, they want to remove body parts and start the estrogen or testosterone, they think it's easy. They don't see the suffering because guess what? When you go on TikTok and you see a trans influencer, they're showing you the good things. They're showing you the best bits. Same with the mainstream media. The liberal media, NBC, CNN, they're only going to show you success stories of teens transitioning. They're not going to show you the thousands of detransitioners that have hair loss, that have heart problems, that have bone problems. They're not going to show you that because it's not cool. So, kids are being looking at things online and kind of being convinced to do something based on a lie.
The other question I always have, because I know that you've been part of like reality television showing this journey of transition, and it's always glamorized on these shows. You can't even get on like a Snapchat without seeing these stories of transition. The question I always have is like, where's all this money coming from? Like, how are people able to afford all these surgeries?
Right. I mean, if a teenager in America is going to go and have the transitional surgery, it's actually $70,000 for all of the surgeries to change everything. So, that's the reason these doctors do it. because they're making so much money. And not only that, they're going to make money for the child's life, because guess what? They're going to be on prescription medication. They're going to need constant doctor's appointments. So, they're set for life, these medical institutions. So that's the reason they do it. With me, I've been very successful with social media. I have a PR company, so I've done very well. But a lot of these teens, they might be taking out loans on credit cards to try and pay for these surgeries and getting into debt. And then, the problem is with surgery, you have one thing and then you're never happy. It's like a snowball effect. So these teens are thinking, okay, let me get the breast surgery, even though they're born a boy, then I'm happy. Then they realize, okay, they need to fix the nose, they need to fix the face to look more feminine. It's just a non-stop thing. So, it costs hundreds of thousands of dollars to do this. And I think kids don't realize that. They might put it on their credit card, they might not realize. And, it's a long-term thing, especially when they transition to being trans. They don't see the long-term consequences. A lot of the doctors don't even tell them, because they just want the instant money there and then.
Did you have to go into debt like when you started this journey?
No, luckily I'm always very careful with my money. Like I always, I will have the money before I do it. I would never pay like monthly, because then you can get into debt and stuff. So yeah, I always pay up front for my surgeries, and I feel it's been an investment for me. It gave me the happiness at the time. But a lot of these kids are getting into debt trying to do this. And like I said, it's very expensive to transition, 70,000 USD. So a lot of these kids have, college debts, university debts, and then on top of that, they have this. And, sometimes their parents will pay, but, that's not fair on the parents. So it's kind of a slippery slope for these kids. So, yeah.
Yeah. Now I want to hear about your testimony. Now, the social media would have many believe that all Christians are bigots, and that they just hate anyone that is struggling with these emotional situations. And I mean, I don't see that. I know I have a lot of compassion for anyone that is feeling confused. And obviously, I'm a person of faith, and I just, it makes me sad, because God created us one way, and I have a lot of compassion for those that are struggling with feeling hurt or feeling out of place. And I have to believe that you at one point thought that Christians would reject you and wouldn't even allow you in church. So what brought you to church? What got you to that point?
Well, again, it was really feeling lost and feeling like I had no other option. I got to the end of the road and I was thinking, I'm so unhappy with the way I look. Every time I look in the mirror, I'm thinking I need more surgery. I'm totally addicted to surgery. So let me just go to church and see if maybe I can find some inner peace. So I would go to church, I would sit at the back listening to the sermon. And I just found it really positive, all the teachings from Jesus and the Psalms. It was very inspiring. I thought, this is nice, maybe this will give me some focus in life. It will give me some structure. So I started going 3 times a week. I still go 3 times a week. And it's just really helped me become a better person. And you know what? The Christian community, like you said, people seem to say online, like, oh, now that I'm Christian, oh, you're a bigot, you're homophobic. That's actually the opposite, because Christians are the most open-minded, embracing people there are. Since I actually detransitioned, I've had so many Christians send me the kindest messages you can imagine. They say they're keeping me in their prayers, and it's incredible. So Christians are the most welcoming, kindest community. So I want to thank them for that. Yeah, so just going to church has really helped me, and again, being embraced by Christians. And like you said, there is a perception online with kind of these woke warriors. They think Christians are homophobic, they're anti-gay. It's none of that at all. People just, Christians just want the best for the world. They want the best for others. They want everyone to be happy with who they are.
And was this like a journey in and of itself, or did you come to a point where you surrendered to God and you accepted Christ as your savior, and then boom, you're like, I need to detransition? Tell me about that journey.
Yeah, so it was, I started going to church for a few weeks, and then I was thinking, you know what? I need to find happiness, and this is actually giving me happiness. This is giving me contentment. I started reading the Bible. I started watching on YouTube, priests delivering sermons, and also inspirational things about the teachings of Jesus. And I was like, this is really, really nice. And why can't I just be the way God made me? Why do I have to keep changing? And then I was trying to analyze the psychology. Why do I keep doing this? What's the reason? Then I realized it was just a generally deep rooted unhappiness, and because I was bullied as a younger kid. And I thought, you know what? this is what God has made me as. I'm a man, I'm this person, I need to stay as this person, I need to continue as this person, and I also need to do good in the world, because Jesus did so much good helping others. Christians do so much good trying to help other people and make the world a better place. So I thought, you know what, I need to embrace Christianity, I need to embrace God, and I need to follow the teachings of Jesus and also spread his message to try and help other people, especially kids that are experiencing these gender dysphorias.
Now, you've talked about how welcoming and open-minded and loving the Christian community is. The LGBTQ plus community, they profess to be for love and tolerance, but you've gotten a lot of hate from that community, from what I can tell.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the LGBT community, I think they've been hijacked. They've been hijacked by the radical trans activists, the woke warriors, the non-binary people. They've really hijacked the movement because, a lot of gay, bi, lesbian people are very embracing. They're very kind about others. And I have so many gay fans around the world. But what it is, it's the people that have hijacked this movement, the trans lobby, these people that are gender fluid, and they want to preach that you must change your pronouns, you must respect their pronouns. If you don't, you're a bigot, you're cancelled. So it's really these hateful people that have hijacked that community. And a lot of the trans community, the more recent ones, the ones that are just following the trend, they are sending me so much hate. They're sending me so many death threats. Not just me, that anyone that detransitions or anyone that dares question their narrative. And what happened to freedom of speech? What happened to having a sensible discussion about these things? We should be having a discussion because these are kids' lives at stake. Why can't we talk about this? They're trying to silence people like me for speaking out. And it's like, why be so hateful? But I really think the reason they're so hateful is because they hate themselves within. They don't have a relationship with God. They have internal struggles. They hate the way they look or whatever. So they want to project that on other people and try and send their hate to other people. And, I just believe in positivity, the power of Christ, and just, keep light in this world. So it's a shame that these people are so hateful. And there's a lot of people in the LGBT community that don't want to be associated with these people because they're really just bigots and they hate anyone that disagrees with them.
That's what I was going to ask you. As much hate as you've gotten from that community, have there been others that, that identify as gay or transgender that have reached out to you and been encouraging and kind?
Well, I haven't had many transgender people reach out to me because, to be honest, they're the ones attacking me. But I've had many other people from the LGBT community that are saying they love me and stuff, and thanks for speaking up. And you know what? Why do we have all this craziness? 500 pronouns. If you don't get the right pronoun as a teacher, you can get fired. It's just a joke. It's a real joke, But I'm all about respecting people. If you want to live the way you do, but don't impose that on other people. Don't try to force your views on other people. If you want to be trans, by all means do it, but don't suddenly go into a woman's safe space and try and tell that woman what is best for them. They have no right to speak on these issues.
So, I mean, when you look at this what you used to look like and what you've gone through, like, what do you how do you feel when you look at this young man now?
Well, I kind of feel sad. Like, why have I gone through this journey? I was also unhappy before, the way I was bullied. As you can see, my nose was a lot bigger. So I really wasn't happy with the way I looked then.
It's really
But
not big though. It really, I mean, your face is proportionate,
right, right.
it's just this crazy.
Yeah, so I kind of regret it, but I guess everything happens in life for a reason. All of this has happened to me now. I have kind of destroyed parts of my face, like I no longer have the symmetry, I no longer have a lot of movement or feeling. I actually have titanium brackets in my cheeks and my chin to keep it in place because I've had the bones shaved down so many times. So like I've kind of done so much, but then I'm thinking, you know what? I can't regret this because you know what? I've learned a lesson from this, a valuable lesson that, I've gone through this now. I never regret anything in life. I think everything good or bad is a learning lesson. I've learned from this. I can now use my platform, use my personal experience to try and help other people that are going through identity issues or gender dysphoria, and maybe help save them from undergoing what I did, to destroy my face in a quest for happiness. And I just want people to realize, it doesn't give you happiness. I get some people like, I support people when they get a nose job or breast implants because, it makes them feel confident and stuff. But when you go to the extreme, like I was going, like constant surgeries, that really gives you no happiness at all. And, if you ask anyone that's had like more than 20, 30 surgeries, they're not happy and they'll just keep having surgery until the day they die.
Yeah, I can imagine that it's very addictive. And it's hard when we're in such a visual society, and everything is about Instagram photos, and I mean, and even me, like half of, well, the majority of what I do is like on camera, and since I've been doing it for 20 years, I have to see my old videos, and then like I have to see myself now, and I'm like, man, like why didn't I appreciate the way I looked then? And it is, it's struggle for everybody. It's just some take it more to the extreme than others.
Right. So, I mean, everybody has something about themselves that they don't like. Some people might not like their nose, some people might like their eye color, and that's just normal. But we need to embrace the way we're born, the way that God made us. We're all God's creatures. Let's just be happy with who we are. But let's also realize that the outside doesn't even matter. It's what's inside that counts. So if you're a good person, if you do good to the world, that's all that matters. Outside is really pretty meaningless. I know some people judge people on looks, but at the end of the day, it's what's inside the heart that counts.
And you made this decision to embrace the way that God created you as much as you can now, being a man. And what where is your journey of Christianity at now?
So it's been about 4 months since I started going to church and becoming Christian, and I am looking to get baptized next year. I'm still going to church regularly. I'm speaking with priests, and it's just an amazing thing. And speaking with other Christians as well, and they're very encouraging. Every day I'm getting people sending me prayers and keeping me in their prayers, and giving me advice and sharing kind of passages from the Bible that are helpful and motivational. And it's just a very positive thing. And like I said before, the Christian community is very embracing, and they're all about spreading love, but also helping others, helping thy neighbor. So, they're giving me much love. So I'm hoping to get baptized next year. And yeah, just really, I also want to do some public speaking about finding God and trying to help other people find God, because there's a lot of people these days, young people, they don't go to church, they don't have direction in their life, they just spend all day on their phone. I do that as well, but it's important to have a balance. It's important for kids to learn about the Bible, the teachings of Jesus, even if they're not religious, just to learn about what Jesus did to the world, because he did so many great things. His message of kindness, helping others, is very important.
Now, I did notice that some critics were saying, like, look, this guy clearly likes attention. He spent all this money. He's been on reality shows. He's had millions of followers on social media. So, your career and what it seems like you like to do is to be out there and to get attention. So, what do you say to those that are saying this is just another thing that Ali London is doing for attention?
Yeah, so I did see a lot of comments like that, and Candice Owens was trying to say that as well. But really, I'm just an open book. I do social media. I'm an influencer. I share every single aspect of my life, whether it's good or bad, whether it's looks like I'm seeking attention or not. I just like to share because, firstly, there's a lot of darkness in the world. So when I was doing all my K-pop music, I still do. I like to make people smile, especially during the difficult time of the pandemic. So if I'm doing things online that seem crazy or whatever, it's to entertain people. People should take it at face value. A lot of my fans are young people, so I want them to be able to smile. I want them to be able to appreciate K-pop and Korean culture, fun things that are positive and exciting for these young people. So, I'm just an open book. Like, I make YouTubes and stuff. I always like to share my journey. Sometimes my journey's been a bit crazier. Now it's, thankfully, I've found myself, and I'm finally, becoming the real me. So I'm grateful for that, and I'm going to continue on the path I'm continuing on now, which is trying to advocate for kids, trying to advocate for women and other people that need their voices heard. And again, part of being on social media, everybody gets attention somehow on social media. It's I'm just an open book, and I also like to entertain people as well. Like on TikTok, I like to make fun music videos, because people need to smile. People need a reason every day to feel happy.
Now you talked about being passionate about protecting the kids, and I know that in light of the Balenciaga scandal, where you had children with bondage clad uh, teddy bears standing on beds and things like that, you were really speaking out against that, and the document about a major porn child porn case laying out in the advertisements. With that whole Balenciaga scandal, you've been really drawing attention to that, speaking out against that. And then most recently, we saw this ad from Kylie Jenner where she's like naked. It looks like covered in blood. What were you saying about this picture?
Well, I just thought this was horrifying, but it's not surprising given that she's a Kardashian. Kardashians are famous for attention seeking. Kardashians are famous for selling their bodies. I mean, look how her sister Kim got famous. We all know how she got famous. So it's just another
This is
ploy
supposed to
to,
be an ad for makeup?
yeah, it is actually an ad for her makeup. And I just think it's very sick because if people remember correctly, the partner of Kylie Jenner, who she has her kids with, Travis Scott, held a concert where 10 people, including children, died from suffocation and asphyxiation. She said nothing. She did nothing for the victims. They didn't compensate. They didn't do anything for the victims. They actually didn't care. So it's the fact that she's now covering herself in blood, which is, a few years on from this tragedy. She hasn't even acknowledged the kids that died at her partner's concert. He didn't care. He didn't even apologize. He didn't care at all. So I just think, this woman just profits out of outrage. That's what her family are famous for. And I just think it's sick to promote this when she has so many kids and young girls that buy her makeup and look up to her. She's covered in blood. It's very satanic. Her sister Kim is still an ambassador for Balenciaga. She hasn't dropped her ties. She said she was outraged. She was disgusted, but she's still working with the brand. So, I think that speaks volumes about this family. If any mother that has 4 kids like Kim Kardashian was associated with a brand, the bondage teddy bears were shocking enough. But when you see the court documents, the Supreme Court documents about child porn, when you see all of the other dark things, the stylists, the designers sharing these satanic child sacrifice images and everything else, you'd think that Kim as a mother would care about kids. But unfortunately, the Kardashians don't have a conscience like Kylie Jenner. They really don't care about anyone else. As long as they're making money, that's all that matters.
It is quite shocking, and then we saw that they were going to sue the set designer for 25 million, and then that case has been dropped, and then the latest I saw was the photographer just giving, like, kind of a half whatever, kind of an apology, but, like, there was never any explanation of why anyone thought that this would be a good idea to have kids that don't even look happy, they look miserable, holding teddy bears with bondage outfits on. Like, no one was able to explain what this had to do with fashion.
No, exactly. It has nothing to do with fashion. It's more about them trying to push an agenda. If it was just the bondage bears, you might be mistaken for thinking maybe they're just desperate for attention. Maybe they're just trying to be controversial. But when you see all of the details put together, all of these horrific things about child abuse, promoting pornography, child pornography, you actually realize that this brand, it's not the creative agency. They've actually dropped that lawsuit now. It's not anything to do with them. It's the brand as a whole. It's the people at the very top, the designer, the stylist, the CEO, the executives. And, for them trying to say, oh, we had nothing to do with this, it wasn't our fault. And then they retracted that. And then the designer apologized. Basically, they're just making it up as they go along. They thought it was just the scandal that would blow over in a few days. Everybody would forget about it and keep buying their brand. But guess what? Most people are against this disgusting narrative being pushed on kids. So thankfully, I believe this brand is now cancelled completely. And their apology doesn't cut it. Kim Kardashian staying with the brand just shows what kind of person she is. Again, if it was the bondage teddy bears, that's bad enough. But it's the fact that they had the child porn documents pushing to legalize it. It's all of that together. It's just horrifying. And you think, how could anyone possibly associate with this brand anymore?
And then on top of it, you have the latest Christmas movie, where it was supposed to be funny that kids came out holding signs that said, "We love you, Satan," and actually got some flack from a former colleague that was like, "Oh, you're just looking for it now. Like, this was just supposed to be funny." I don't find it funny. I mean, especially with all this going on, you have her covered in blood, the Kylie Jenner, like, what is I mean, it's just too much. I mean, and I don't have to look for it. It's everywhere now. This worship essentially of Satan. What do you think, or what do you say to people that say, "Oh, you're just overreacting. This isn't a thing. You're just going to see it everywhere now"?
Well, you're right, because it really is everywhere. Years ago, Disney would still put shocking phallic symbols in some of their kids' movies, as a joke or whatever. But now it's become a trend between these liberal elites, these media companies that are targeting children. They want to slowly kind of just dehumanize children and just kind of make this normal. There's many sick people in Hollywood that do bad things to kids, as we saw with Jeffrey Epstein. Look how many A-list celebrities were on his island. And that's not talked about anymore. So there's a lot of bad things going on, but I think they're just trying to push an agenda. They keep slipping these things in because the more you put it in, it's like indoctrination. The more you put it in, the more normalized it becomes. For instance, if you constantly watch the news every day and you constantly see famine or war in the world, you become desensitized to it. doesn't shock you anymore. So I really believe they're trying to desensitize people to this and try to make it normal, because there's many predators in Hollywood. There's many predators that work, look at Nickelodeon, Dan Schneider, all of the shocking scandals with him with child stars. There's many predators in Hollywood, and now we can see in the fashion industry, Balenciaga, and they want this to be normal so they can get away with their crimes. But we can never allow this to be normal.
Absolutely. I got a question for you. As much as you have changed, detransitioned and found God, um, how different are your, because now you're talking about all kinds of things. You're talking about the importance of free speech, you're talking about caring about this like satanic agenda. I'm just curious, what would your thoughts have been before you found Christ, before you had decided to detransition? Would you have been blowing off these things happening with children in this advertising campaign, or do you think that you would have kind of thought weird of it?
Yeah, I never really used to talk about things like that. I would just be doing K-pop, entertaining people, making people smile, making people laugh. But again, going to church and finding myself, and just becoming back to the real me, it's made me realize, I have a platform. I have a lot of people around the world that look up to me and stuff. I can use my platform to spread good messages. I can also use my platform to highlight injustices in the world and bad things going on. So yeah, before years ago, I wouldn't have spoken about this because I was too busy interested in having plastic surgery or K-pop, basically things that weren't important. Now I've come to realize, I can help others with my message. I can help others with my journey, my experience, but also, to enlighten people on what's going on in the world. But yeah, you're right. I wouldn't have been like that a while ago. So it's really me finding myself and giving up on all this
Sounds like your
surgery.
eyes have been opened. Like they call it red pilled. You feel like you've been red pilled?
Yeah, I really do. I mean, I was always aware of what was going on in the world. I've always been very up to date with the news and things like that. But it was really, again, recently, I just thought, you know what, I have a responsibility. I almost feel like I was selfish before. All I cared about was looking a certain way, projecting a certain image. It's kind of selfish, but we all kind of do that in some way. And I just realized, why am I just doing everything for the way I look? Why can't I actually help others? So, now that I'm seeing these issues in the world, I shared my detransition, and I was helping a lot of people with that. But then when I saw the Balenciaga thing, I was like, come on, I need to speak about this. And then, as I started researching it, I really got deep into the rabbit hole of seeing like all the details, all the shocking satanic elements. And I just got really invested in trying to expose what was going on. So like it's opened my eyes a lot. Like you said, being red pilled, like my eyes are really open now to what is going on in the world. And I want to be able to speak up on that, because a lot of these kids that are being trafficked by certain model agencies, the model agents and stuff, they do not have a voice and they deserve justice.
Curious about that large platform, that following that you have, that made you want to speak out and feel like a responsibility to speak out. Has you lost a lot of followers? Have you taken a financial hit since you did this? Or have you just gained different followers?
Yeah, so actually, when I was trans, I was getting a lot of brand deals for like makeup, hair, women's dresses, and stuff. And when I detransitioned, I actually got dropped by quite a lot of brands. So I did lose a lot of money, and I also lost a lot of followers, and I lost a lot of friends, actually, personal friends. They were kept saying I was transphobic, and all I was doing, I'm sharing my story to try and help others. I'm not saying anything against the trans community. I'm just saying that teenagers and kids should not be having gender affirming care. It's like it shouldn't even be an argument with these people, but unfortunately, they like to make an argument. So yeah, I did lose a lot because of this, and I lost a lot of followers. Like all my K-pop followers on Twitter have unfollowed me because now I'm obviously speaking up on issues. TikTok, I didn't really lose that many. Instagram, I kind of gained some actually. So, but yeah, I did lose quite a few brands because of that. And I just think, whatever, if they think I'm transphobic, that's on them. I'm not transphobic, so whatever.
So what's next for you? What do you see? Like, what are your passions and goals moving forward?
So I'm gonna take a break from my music. So I've been doing music for a few years. I'm gonna take a break from that, and I'm gonna shift into politics because, like I said, now that my eyes are open to what's going on in the world, I feel like I can try and help bring light to some of these issues and bring attention and awareness to some of these issues. So I definitely want to get involved, particularly in US politics. I was just in Washington D.C. I had some meetings there, and just get involved in trying to make the world a better place. Particularly focusing on children's and women's issues, trying to give them a voice regarding the trans issues. Trans people, causing problems for women, trying to erode women, trying to silence women, and children, being abused, whether being trafficked or whether being abused by doctors, giving them surgery and giving them puberty blockers and stuff. So yeah, I'm going to move into politics and try and help push for some policy and legislation in the US to try and protect kids from all of these things.
Before we say goodbye, I do want to talk about this free speech issue because I know that you're passionate about free speech, but I did notice that you were speaking out against Ye for his speech and were cheering on that he got kicked off of Twitter. This is a tricky thing. It's a slippery slope because obviously what he said it was loony, first of all, and like barely made sense. And no one, I mean, most people would find what he said awful, obviously. But if free speech is even allowing speech we hate, I mean, how do we draw the line with that? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, that's a very, very difficult one. And of course, there's a very thin line between free speech and hate speech. And again, it's a very difficult one for anyone to kind of police that because, who's to say it's hate speech? Who's to say it's someone not just expressing their First Amendment rights? But I think the situation with Kanye, it was absolutely shocking what he said. And the reason Elon Musk obviously kicked him off was for inciting violence. And, what
Well, my
Kanye was
thing
doing.
is, did he incite violence? What he said was awful. But did he say let's all attack people, this particular group? I mean, I don't know.
Well, obviously, that's what
He shared a logo, and that
yeah,
was the final straw.
obviously that's the decision Twitter took, and it's a very hard thing because as we've seen in the past, Twitter has constantly silenced conservatives that they don't agree with, so it's a very tricky thing. But I think it was a combination with Kanye, with obviously his Alex Jones interview when he was praising Hitler and saying that the Nazis did a lot of good, and basically kind of being really hateful to Jewish people. And I think the issue with his words is because he's so famous and he has such a big platform, his words can have real life consequences. I mean, there were people in LA over a bridge, they were holding very horrific anti-Semitic signs. So like people like him can cause real harm. So, there are people out there that will follow his word, and he's going around with someone that's denying the Holocaust as well. So it's like, that is, we can all agree that that is probably the most shocking thing that's ever happened in history. It is complete hate speech. But again, it's a slippery slope, like you said, with free speech. But I think Twitter made the right call with Kanye just because it was very, very hateful. But other people will, of course, disagree and, argue that even speech we disagree with should be free.
Yeah, I mean, I struggle with that myself because it makes me uncomfortable just even having to talk about what was said. But at the same time, I think that sometimes the best punishment for when people say hateful things or horrible things is to make them live in it, is to like not hide it, but like look at what this guy's saying and make them deal with the consequences by allowing it to be seen. So I don't know. I haven't fully wrapped my mind around how I feel about that
Mm.
personally either, because it's a slippery slope, man. So it's very difficult. Well, I know that you've already spent quite a bit of time with me. Is there any final thoughts, any other topics that you wanted to cover before I let you go?
No, I would just say to any parents listening that might have kids that are confused, or LGBT kids, it's very normal for a teenager to go through feelings and experience of feeling lost or confused or, not knowing how they identify. But you just have to keep giving them love and support. And, when you have your kids saying, "Oh, I'm the wrong gender" and stuff, just reassure them that if they want to feel that way, that's fine, but they don't need to change as they grow up. They'll grow out of that. So I would just give these kids reassurance, and also keep an eye on what their school is teaching them, because there are teachers I've seen on Twitter, parents posting letters from teachers and stuff where they're secretly giving letters to kids telling them to change their pronouns or change their sex and teaching them really shocking stuff. So I would just say to parents, keep an eye on what's going on at your kids' school, give your kids love, and just there might be a kid that generally they want to transition as an adult and then they'll live their life as an adult in a different body. Okay, that's fine, but we can't have kids doing this. If they want to do that as an adult when they're 21, 22, okay, if they really want to do that. But as a parent, they need to protect the kids from getting access to puberty blockers and hormone replacement therapy. And it's hard because there are teachers and other people that are going behind parents' backs giving these kids advice and trying to push them to do something that
And they're
may
perpetuating, I
be
mean,
right.
let's just say it, they're perpetuating a lie. They keep on continuing to say, like, that these things can be reversible. No, there's definitely things that cannot be reversed. I mean,
Mm.
I see other detransitioners, women that have tried to transition to become a man and then changing their mind. They can't seem to get their voice quality back, their voice to be feminine again, and then they just feel awkward. There's the bone density issues. It can actually cause damage in for like health issues that cannot be reversed. So, I mean, it shocks me that they're able to continue to perpetuate this lie that oh, it's fine to mess with the natural flow of puberty, like they can figure it out and reverse that later. Like, what evidence is there for that any of that can be reversed?
Exactly. I mean, all of it is irreversible. It doesn't even take a scientist to see that these things are irreversible. Again, if you look at detransitioners, you see their voices are like, for instance, Chloe Cole, born a girl, changed to a boy, now detransitioned. Her voice is very deep. You know, again, bone density issues. There's a lot of things that you can't change back, but the doctors don't tell them this. The trans activists tell them it's easy. They say, oh, it's just easy. You go to the doctors, you get a prescription, they'll give you puberty blockers straight away. You know, they're being told it's easy, and in many cases it can be easy because these doctors want to make money, right? So they're going to skip the checks and balances. They're just going to fast track this kid to get on the hormones because they say, oh, you better do it now before you get too old, otherwise it's not going to work as well. They don't say, by the way, you're going to have bone issues, you might have increased heart failure issues when you're older, you might have an increased risk of cancer, hair loss, other issues. They don't tell you any of that. And also, there's not enough science. This is a brand new phenomenon. There's not enough research. We need at least 40, 50 years of research to know that this is safe. But sadly, we don't have the research. We don't have the case studies to see. So who knows in 20 years what effects these kids have? You know, a lot of these kids could die young. They're going to have a lot of health issues. And, you know, sadly, they have been betrayed by the healthcare professionals.
Now, you mentioned another detransitioner. I know that there's which has been largely shut down and censored, but there's like the Gays Against Groomers that have come together that they all agree, leave kids alone. Are there any efforts to bring more detransitioners together to raise awareness of these complications, educate parents, reach out to kids that are struggling, to send them warnings? Are there any efforts to bring more detransitioners together?
So there's no official organizations or charities that work on this because, again, like their voices are silenced. So many detransitioners are silenced and censored by the mainstream media. But thankfully, you have many conservative outlets like Tucker Carlson, who Chloe Cole talked on the show. I talked on the show as well. You know, you have some really great conservative outlets, Glenn Beck as well, Newsmax, One American News. They are giving detransition a platform because it's only right to do that. You know, the mainstream media on the left want to silence these people. They just want to show the good stories, the happy stories of someone transitioning. They don't want to show other people. So there's not enough resources or support out there for people that detransition. But I think with people, every single person that speaks up, whether that's on the media or social media, such as Chloe Cole, or other detransitioners, you know, they are helping thousands and thousands of other teens that are also feeling the same way, that they're just too scared to speak out. So, you know, the more people now are speaking out, I've been doing a lot of press, Chloe's been doing a lot of press, you know, the more people speak out, the more we can get this conversation going that, okay, it's actually really harmful for kids to be transitioning. You know, we need both sides of the argument. You know, it shouldn't just be one-sided view where if you say that a kid shouldn't transition, you're a bigot, you're transphobic, you're homophobic. We should actually have a conversation, you know, sit down and try and find a resolution for this. You know, the resolution should be that teenagers should not be doing this. Adults can do this if they want to, but teenagers shouldn't be doing this. So I think we need bipartisan efforts. But again, sadly, people in the left and the mainstream media do not want to have this conversation.
What are the best ways for people to follow what you're doing and to support what you're doing and continue to send you those encouraging messages and prayers? How should people connect with you?
So on Twitter, I'm pretty active on Twitter, Ollie London TV. I've just joined Truth Social at Ollie London, and my Instagram is London Ollie. So yeah, I'm sharing lots of my journey, sharing other things as well. You know, trying to highlight things that are going on in the world, trying to speak up for things. So I appreciate everyone's support and follows. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, I thank you so much, Ali, for sharing with me today. It's fascinating to talk to you. I just love how open you are and bravely sharing everything, and that you are passionate, that you're trying to make a difference. And you said that some of the ways that you were before were selfish. Well, they're certainly not now. You're taking a lot of hate, a lot of criticism to try and make a difference with your platform. So thank you so much for that.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. And thank you to all the audience for listening as well.